But now we're going to sit down together and work out what does God want in this situation. You tell us how you see Allah, what did the Quran say, and you Christians tell us what Jesus said, because there are lots of Palestinian Christians in Gaza, and we'll tell you what we think Elohim says from our study of the Kabbalah and the Bible. And we'll have Torah study in northern Gaza, in a hospital that they've vacated or something. And I pray to God that they stop bombing, because Torah study is better when you don't have bombs going off. It's possible to do it, even under fire. So that's what I think Elohim would ask, is for study, philosophy. I mean, I studied with Rabbi Friedlander, who was a close friend of mine in London, very learned Jewish rabbi. If he was alive, he'd be saying this. He himself was taught by a famous rabbi who'd survived the Holocaust. He'd been in one of the concentration camps, and he escaped after the war. He survived because he ran a philosophy club in the concentration camp. He would teach Plato and stuff. And he survived after the war and escaped to London and set up the Leo Baeck Institute where they train rabbis. And I never met Leo Baeck, he was died before me, but I knew his student and disciple, Rabbi Friedlander, extremely well. And he wrote the biography of Leo Baeck, and that's where I learned. That's what kept them alive in the concentration camp. That's the greatest act of defiance we can do against the madness of militarism, is study wisdom. Do true Torah study, true Quranic studies. So I think that's what I would like. I think Elohim and Mithras, they'd be very happy to come to any Torah studies, between the Jews and the Palestinians. And let's just elevate this conflict to the level of proper spirit, which is, what we're trying to do in this philosophy club. Okay, any comments or questions? Am I wrong here? Would you see it differently, or would that work, do you think? I suppose the question is, well, how do we, how do we get there from here? Because they're literally dropping bombs. Well, I think that's where faith comes in. I can share another friend I knew, another interfaith peace leader, a Buddhist from Cambodia, who I met at an interfaith peace conference. And he was a very humble man, lovely chap. I dropped him off at the Copenhagen airport, and I said, "Where's your luggage?" He only had like one little pack of stuff. He'd come all the way from Cambodia with like one thing. And anyway, long story short, I discovered later he was very famous, and he led a pilgrimage across minefields in Cambodia to protest the mining of Cambodia. And he had enough faith to walk barefoot, for tens of miles across these minefields, in faith that he wouldn't be blown up. And he wasn't. So if he can do that, I think you can walk into Gaza and do Torah study. Right, okay, let's do another one. I love those two. Thank you so much. We'll put them there. Choose another.
All right.
This is a great game. It's much better than the Game of Thrones, where all these kings are fighting for power. We're playing the game of gods here.
We had him, I think, quite some time ago. Loki.
Well, I think we ought to have him again. Yeah, let's have Loki again. He causes lots of trouble. Yeah. You've got two.
Indra.
Indra. Yeah. Okay, thank you very much. Indra, yes.
Indra.
Indian god of the Vedic times, one of the primal Indian deities. Okay, well, we'll do it in the order they came. So Loki, here, is the troublemaker of history. When I said contrariness exists, it's Loki. This is the word for it in Norse religions. He's the closest you get to a devil, but he's not actually a devil. He's just the kind of guy that always wants to pick a fight. You walk into a bar and there's always some guy leaning at the bar that says, "I don't like the way you're looking at me. What are you looking at me for?" kind of person. You know, or you're walking down the street and, you know, somebody like, you know, what are you doing kind of stuff. So the Loki is this principle, and it's interesting, he appears in the Norse sagas. What we know about this god is that he's quoted in the ancient scriptures and Norse sagas. And he's usually causing trouble. He's the Nine of Air, which is, because he's also very intelligent. And if you've seen the version of Thor, the movie that was made, there's 2 editions of it come out, it's a brilliant movie. He's actually very clever, Loki. And deep down he's good, but it takes a while to be convinced of that. And he's the Nine of Air, and he does what's called flighting in the Norse sagas, which is a thing. It was a verbal contest of wits in the Norse world, where you insult somebody else to the point of really making them angry, and then they insult you back to the point of making you really angry. And the game is that you go back and forth, but you don't actually draw the sword. You show restraint and you sublimate what you hate about the other guy or whatever in an insult that you hurl back. And this was a recognised thing, even in Scotland, which had strong Viking influence. At the court of the Scottish kings, there were flighting contests between courtiers, and who would then be given leave to insult each other, like, you know, "I slept with your mother," or whatever, you know, really horrible, rude things. And then you weren't allowed to draw the sword. Of course, and the one that did lost the game. Now, in the Norse sagas, Loki's doing flighting often. He likes to flight with Thor. And he insults him and says, you know, "I slept with your wife," and blah, blah, blah. And actually Thor gets really angry and occasionally really goes for him. So he's, in a sense, what's going on with the Palestinians and Israelis is they're flighting. They're playing Loki's game. But the trouble is they've taken it too far, and they're now hurting each other. You know, I don't know why this guy, Mohammed Dayef, thought it was a good idea to send his warriors into battle to go and stab Israelis at a dance festival. Young Israeli kids who are full of love and showing their love of life with dancing to psytrance music. And I believe they were choosing to do that near Gaza because they want peace. These are my tribe, these people. And I know people who were at that dance. And I know a dear friend of mine in Israel has said one of her friends, you know, was captured as a hostage and is probably now in Gaza. I mean, this tribe of people want peace between Israel and Hamas and Palestine. This is the tragedy of what happened. Why would you kill the very people that are working for peace? I can't understand what was in the mind of Hamas to think that. Either they're very, very stupid and didn't realise. I find that hard to believe. I mean, they've got the internet, you know, or I don't know. You know, they're that evil that they would attack the very people that are trying to make peace. But that's so self-defeating, you know. So possibly faulty intelligence, I don't know. Or the other possibility is they've been so brainwashed with anti-Israeli propaganda and anti-Semitic propaganda that they don't care. Any kind of Jew will do. If you just kill them, that's fine. I don't care if you're a young peace-loving Jew or Jewess, you're still going to be killed. It's possible they're kind of brainwashed like that. This chap, Mohammed Dayef, who was the ringleader or the mastermind of it, apparently went to the university in Gaza. But he didn't study philosophy, he didn't have me as a teacher, he didn't study comparative religion. He knows nothing about the good sides of Judaism. He knows nothing about, comparative religion. He just knows pain, bitterness, and revenge. And so he learned technical subjects that could help him in bomb making and his career as a bomb maker. I find that unutterably sad. One of the things I've called on is this guy should surrender himself. Mr. Mohammed Daif, you should simply, through the UN, you should go to Egypt and surrender yourself and go and face justice at the International Court of Criminal Justice, or defend yourself. Say why you did this, why you think slaughtering 1,400 Israelis is in God's best interests and in the best interests of the Palestinian people. Go and defend yourself. And my prayer is that if he surrenders, Israel can stop their merciless slaughter of these innocent Palestinians. I put this plan to other friends of mine in Israel, and they say, yeah, but there's more people like Mohammed Daif. Okay, well, maybe his 6 top people could surrender. But they need guarantees of a fair trial and not to be, killed en route. Their voice should be heard, in my opinion. Simultaneously, the Israelis should also defend what they're doing. And that court, it would be like a fighting battle. The lawyers would battle and say, well, that scum, they did this, and well, but they've been doing it to us for 20 years. And let's have it all out in public. Let's transmute this into a fighting contest. That's, I think, what Loki would do. And he was, I think that's a better solution than dropping bombs and killing and mangling babies and women and stuff. So my challenge to both sides here is learn from Loki and the power of fighting. Insult each other, fine, but don't draw the sword. And ultimately, the point of fighting is to get to the truth. It's like, by puncturing the guy's ego so much, you eventually realise, well, I've nothing left to lose, so I might as well go the path of truth, love and light, which is what remains when the ego goes. If you've ever sort of taken ayahuasca or LSD or something, you have this amazing experience when the ego finally dissolves, all that's left is eternal love, light, bliss. And that's what you got in the mysteries of Eleusis, which was enhanced with the psychedelic Kikaon, which the ego dissolves. I'm only here in this body for a temporary lifespan. My soul is eternal. I come from the gods, and I'll return there. That's what these initiates discovered, and Plato did the mysteries. That's the level we have to take this to, in my opinion. And that's tragically what these psytrance dancing people in their festival were trying to do. Well, let them not have died in vain. Let us make our conversation much more sophisticated. We people in the peace movement have to get much more sophisticated and outthink the military types and the terrorist types who use violence. It's so barbaric. It's so last century. We need to move on here and do fighting and wisdom work. Okay, that's Loki. Now, he needs backup. He can't do this alone because nobody really likes Loki. He's got a bad reputation. He's from runic culture, and not many people know about it. It's a bit sinister, and weren't the Nazis into it? No, they weren't. They imprisoned proper rune masters like me, people that really knew the runes. They didn't want to know. The Nazis stole bits of wisdom and misused it. Loki wasn't happy about that at all. So he needs backup, and that is Indra, who's like the king of the gods. Indra's really heavyweight wisdom worker. And in the Rig Veda, which is a marvellous scripture of the oldest level of Hindu wisdom, from the time of Zoroaster, 1750 BC, time of Abraham. I mean, if there's a council of gods going on right now, it's like Abraham is talking to Zoroaster, and Indra's chairing the meeting in the heaven worlds. And Indra, You don't argue with Indra. Indra wields a thunderbolt and rides an elephant, which is what you see in the card. And these seers, these rishis, who wrote the Rig Veda down, it was revealed or transmitted wisdom. And they were tuning into the Shabad, which the Sikhs knew about. The Sikhs come from the same source, and Guru Nanak writes in his poetry about Indra. He's the king of the gods. Before, we all know Vishnu, the god of maintenance work, Brahma, the creator, and Shiva. But before those three, there was Indra, much more ancient. And the Rig Veda comes from an even earlier time. So, and then it gets very interesting. Buddha grew up in a community that worshipped Indra in Kapilavastu and the borders between what is now India and Nepal, southern Himalayas there. They worshipped Indra because, who don't you worship if you're in the Himalayas and you see the sunrise over the mountains and it's all cosmic stuff going on? Well, the king of the gods, obviously, Indra. And Buddha modelled his journey towards enlightenment on Indra's resolve and dedication. Buddha absorbed the energies of Indrahood. We should instead of talking about Buddhahood, we should talk about Indrahood. And this was confirmed to me when I went to around an ancient museum in Pataliputra or Patna in Ganges part of India in Bihar, which is near where Buddha lived. And Buddha walked in these streets where I was. And going around the museum, they have a lot of tantric Buddhist stuff with thunderbolts, the dorje they're called in Tibetan. And these thunderbolts were used in Indra worship before Buddha was even conceived, because Indra hurls thunderbolts. And that stands for those moments of insightfulness, those enlightenments we all get from time to time, when the rabbi listening to this talk says, yeah, I'm going to do it. I'm going to go with 10 friends. We're going to sort this war because we have the power of Indra. We can do this. We have the Buddhas of all history behind us. Nobody can stop us. We have, these people are, one lot are firing rockets endlessly at the Israelis, which really annoys them. I wish you'd stop that, Hamas. And the other lot are dropping bombs from the sky. And both of them are feeling really powerful and invulnerable. I say, compared to Indra, this is kids' play. When I was little, I had a little gun that used to fire matchsticks, a little wind-up toy. And, it was great. But you grow out of this stuff. What we have to do is go to the level of Indrahood, each of us, and find the inner Vajra, the thunderbolt, the dorje. And that's about, awakening, enlightenment. And I think the whole planet's reaching that point. We're really sick of these wars. We're sick of this Israeli-Hamas thing. I listened to the leaders in Cairo talking yesterday. Very moving words. The Palestinian leader, Mahmoud Abbas, the Egyptian president, El-Sisi, the King of Jordan spoke incredibly movingly. Thank you, O King. He's a friend of King Charles, who I've met. These people are sick of these wars, including King Charles, who was just here in France, by the way, meeting Macron. They want peace, these people. And for that, we have to go to this Indrahood, or Buddhahood, as it's, I think, miscalled. Well, no, let's not argue. It's too late to change that now, but, let's understand what the word really means, which is activating that diamond, Vajra-like, strong will towards goodness and enlightenment. That's what this is about. My old friend Lama Gangchen used to talk about making the diamond body. He gave all these initiations. Dalai Lama does the same. The point of advanced Buddhist meditation is to realise we are made of the diamond rainbow body. That's our true self. This physical thing, Thomas, that'll fade away and be gone, in a few decades. But the eternal diamond body of the Vajra, Yana, Indrahood remains for all of us. And that's the only thing really worth you know, pursuing and cultivating. And that comes with love and compassion. If you love and are compassionate for somebody, you can see that in them, and they can see it in you. I'm just going to end this with one last little thing. I was once in a Quaker meeting. In Canada, I used to go to Quaker meetings. It was a sort of Christian mystic thing. And I was sitting in deep meditation in one Quaker meeting in Calgary in about 1978. And for an hour, you sit there in total silence with your eyes shut. And there may be just 6 people in the circle, or 10 or 12. And I was sitting there in total quiet. And I could see, and then suddenly somebody entered the room, like 10 minutes late after the meeting had started. And I could see a rainbow aura walk into the room with my eyes shut. Like, I couldn't believe it. I'd never seen that before, right? And he sat down, and it was like he had this really glowing aura, like a rainbow. I can't describe it any other way. And I think I peeked. I think I peeked, and it was still there. I could see it. Anyway, I shut my eyes, got on with the meditation, and at the end of the hour, then, you know, the elders of the meeting draw it to an end. And this chap was talking, he just visiting from Cambridge, just a normal English bloke who was a Quaker. But he was obviously someone who'd done a lot of spiritual purification. He'd done a lot of inner work. And that rainbow aura of his was visible, you know. I don't know if anyone else saw it or if it was just me developing my early siddhis. This was in my early 20s, just starting out on this path. So I think I just want to share that's the level we have to get to of, you know, I challenge the rabbis of peace to go into Gaza and find that rainbow body in the people of Gaza. And I challenge the Gaza people to welcome the rabbis of peace and find it there as well. And you will find it. That's the level of absolute reality, which is beyond violence. It's a place of non-violence. Right, okay, I'm going to stop there. I think that's, we've done 2. That's probably enough for tonight, the Philosophy Club. Any final questions or comments?
I'm afraid not. I enjoy so much listening, just listening.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much, Noah. You're very kind. Melanie, what do you think about, do you want to comment about any of these, Loki or Indra? You've been to India, right? Did you go to northern India, like Indra town? Not been to Buddha's birthplace or anything? Okay. I had a friend who was going to come and visit me, who was in Kapilavastu. There's a museum there, it's where Buddha was born. And he was bringing me a stone from there. So, you know, feel free to come. I'll finish my last thought then. I've just finished reading a book called Buddha's Mother by an amazing American feminist Buddhist or Buddhologist. And it's about the little known role of Buddha's mother. Buddha had 2 mothers. There was the birth mother called Maya, who gave birth to him. A princess, she was married to the king of Kapilavastu, which is not a big place. But she died, sadly, 10 days after the birth, so Buddha never knew her. And then her sister, who was old, slightly old, a couple of years older, became Buddha's actual mother and raised him and suckled him and did everything that mothers do for babies and then young boys and grew him up. And was actually married, they were both married to the king. And later, as she grew into adulthood, well, as Buddha grew into adulthood, he left home at the age of 29, gave up his marriage, and she was there all this time, the mother. And the book reconstructs what her life would have been. She's only referred to a little bit in the texts. All the emphasis is on Buddha being a hero and finding enlightenment. But eventually, 5 years after finding enlightenment, he goes home and he meets his mother, who's still alive, and she becomes a Buddhist, and she founds the order of ordained nuns within Buddhism. many of the young monks didn't want women to become Buddhist nuns. They said, no, keep women out, they cause trouble. They have periods, they're all moody, you know. But Buddha said, because his mother insisted, no, we're going to have nuns. Women can also reach enlightenment. And in fact, it is said that his mother did. She became the first Buddhist nun, and with 500 of her followers, they all reached enlightenment together. Anyway, this book is brilliant, and it brings back that lost feminine aspect of these religions. You know, let's not forget the mothers here. This is a travesty what's going on in that war. And let's not forget the victims also in Ukraine and Russia, where mothers are losing their children and their lives. Because we haven't done our homework as a planet. We haven't done our Torah studies. We haven't done our Buddhist studies. We haven't done our philosophy. That's why I want philosophy in all schools worldwide. I want them all to have my periodic table of the world's religions. Only through philosophy can we, I think, heal this, because it's about a medical healing of the psyche's wounds, which is what Buddha was doing, and all the other teachers, all the other prophets. Okay, there we are. So I hope you'll rush out and get that book, Buddha's Mother. Email me and I'll send you the details. Shambhala Press publish it. Just come out. Thank you for writing it, madam. Okay, let's finish there. And may there be peace next time. By the time next week's class comes along, may this fighting have stopped, please. And it'd be nice to see on the news, you know, peace rabbis go in and heal conflict. I believe in miracles. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Thomas.